All right, good morning, traders. Today's July 7th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Just to let you know that the majority of the training and education comes in the morning video at 8 o'clock. That's when I start it every day. Every day I give you a morning video. I try to give an evening video and discuss my trading throughout the day. I try to share that every evening, and that starts at 4, sometimes 3:30, sometimes 3:45. Depends what the market's doing. But anyways, I want to thank everybody out there in digital land, podcast land. Hey, good morning, Rod and Erasmo. Out there in digital land, podcast land, cyber land. You know who you are. All right. Thank you for following my content, liking my content, being a part of the BYOB experience. Again, I try to provide actionable, profitable content every single day to help everybody succeed. If you don't know what BYOB means, it does not mean bring your own beer. It's about being your own boss, all right? It's about being freedom. It's about finding freedom. It's about being able to walk away from your job and stand securely in retirement, all right? That's what it's all about, okay? It's not about bring your own beer, all right? I know that's the popular acronym, but it's about being your own boss, all right? And if you're going to be your own boss, let me just say this, okay? You got to have a plan, okay? Because this is going to be the business for the rest of your life, all right? Once you acquire this skill, you never lose it, all right? And so you better have some rules set up, all right? And the most successful independent day traders have a trading plan. All right. Now, I urge everybody to have a trading plan. And some do and some don't. And I get it. Okay. All right. But I'm just saying the most successful ones have a plan. Not only do they have a plan, but they've memorized their plan. And they're tweaking their plan day after day according to market needs. All right. And they're looking at what the market's doing. And they're constantly making their plan better and better. All right. Now I'm just telling you. All right. If you want to succeed, have a plan. It's just like if you were to go off and start a business plan. This is your business plan. How are you going to make money today in the markets? Okay. These guys. All right. You're up against professional pickpockets here. Okay. It's not easy. All right. These guys are out to juke you, to flip you, to turn you, get you going one direction, and then go in the other one. All right, I'm just saying, like the market is if you don't have a plan, all right, the market will humble you very quickly. All right, very quickly. All right, but I just want to say, and I just want to urge everybody to get a plan. And if you're not profitable day trading, I urge you to stop trading real money and flip to a paper account and get some help. And you know what the good news is about here at BYOB Trading? I offer free 15-minute coaching whenever you want it. All you got to do is tell me, hey, John, when can I get some free coaching? All right, I'd like to get a 15-minute session. All right, and usually between the two of us, we can hammer this out. Whatever's going wrong, it's a case of over trading. All right, it's you get your daily goal, you get it in the morning, and then in the afternoon you give it all back, and that's been the case for a lot of traders, and it's real easy. You grab your goal and you stop trading. If you want to continue trading, paper trade. You know what I'm saying? The big thing is make your goal every day. All right? And just get better and better. That's it. Just get better and better. All right, so let's dig into this. Let's start with, well, we'll go over this one more time, okay? Again, today, open house in the BYOB Trading Room. We're live. I trade live in front of you. This is it's going to be a great event. I hope y'all come and see me. I hope to get this video out in time for you to come to realize that there is an open house. But if you use your smartphone and you scan this QR code, you can get the registration link. Believe me, I'm going to leave it in the video, in the description part. I'll probably leave it in my postings at the top. But anyways, we're going to have open house all day till 4 p.m. All right, Monday, that's today, in the BYOB Trading Room. All right, how I plan to trade SPY. Before we get into that, let's get into the monologue. All right, just lost a chart. Let's fix that. No, that's not what I wanted. And let's go with that one right there. All right, let's pull up the monologue for this morning. All right. All right, today is July 7th, 2025. Again, good morning, traders and visitors. Thank you for being here. All right, my SPY pivot this morning. Oh, gosh, not this. Okay. All right, let me just, let me pause the video just for a second. All right. So my pivot this morning, 623.80. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab 5 are in daily uptrends. That would be FNGU, SPY, QQQ, IWM, and Diamond Dow. Okay, those are the Fab 5. All of them are in daily uptrends. All right. Some even in weekly, monthly uptrends as well. All right, all made new okay, SPY, QQQ, and FNGU made new all-time highs on the 3rd. That was a half day. All right, IWM and Diamond Dow made new rally highs. Okay, they are challenging the all-time highs. They are set to challenge those all-time highs. All right, they're moving on up. IWM's a little bit further back than Diamond Dow. All right, so IWM, Diamond Dow made new rally highs. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Okay, gold's in a downtrend, a daily downtrend. All right, right now, gold made a lower low and a lower high, closed under a bullish trap under its 17 EMA. Silver is in a daily uptrend. All right, silver made a higher high and a higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. USO in a daily uptrend. USO made an inside day. Inside day is a lower high and a higher low, closed over a bearish trap and over the 17. UNG in a daily downtrend made an outside day. Okay, remember the inside day was a lower high and a higher low. Well, the outside day is going to be a higher high and a lower low, all right, for the daily candle, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. Hey, we love that, okay? As a consumer, it sucks, but as an investor in the markets, it's a beautiful thing if you're a bull. SPY max pain is 621. That's for the options that expire today. No graphic up there. Fixed screen. Is that true, traders? Did something come off? Do I need to refresh? Can you guys hear me? You're good? You're good? Joe, you good? Jim's good. Scott's good. Sharon's good. Okay, Michael, all right? Probably just refresh, like F5, okay? All right, so SPY max pain 621. All right, that's for the options. That's the SPY options that expired today at 4:15. Okay, with a put to call ratio of 1.79 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. All right, so that's about over 1 3/4 puts for each call. All right. And SpyMax paying today 621. We'll see how close we get to that. Okay, so how to use this bulls and bears. All right. Let's look at these, okay? FIVE, all right? Just make a mental note. FIVE, ZS. These are all uptrends, by the way, everything in here. Okay, FIVE, ZS, CRDO, and FLR, okay? They're all in little grinder box breakouts, all right, or ready to make a breakout. So I star them for your convenience, all right? So you got 5 of them here. We're going to go visit them right now, okay? You got FIVE, ZS, CRDO, and FLR. FLR already broke out. Let's take a peek at FLR because it's already breaking out. And I know some of the people in the room already bought it. All right, so you can see there's SPY for today. That was on the 3rd, just before the 4th of July. Nice 3-day weekend we had. So let's take a look at FLR. Okay, so you can see you got this box of price action. Okay, all right, so they're leaning on overhead supply. So it takes a little while to grind that out. So I call it a grinder box, all right? Because they're grinding away at that overhead supply. And this has been flagged for a few days now, all right, and starred, all right? And here came not yesterday, on the 3rd, all right? Little breakout here on that grinder box breakout. No telling how high this will go. I would have liked to seen a bigger candle. All right, that would have given me some indication that the other candles are going to be bigger. Maybe they're all going to be this size, but there is FLR breaking out. Okay, now that was starred on the 2nd and the 3rd, and I think also on the 1st. So you could have been ready for that pop, from, well, let's just call it 50 bucks all the way up to 53.60. Okay, so you could have been ready for that because it was starred on the on the morning monologue here, right there. See, it was starred. If you go back and you look in my social media, you'll see it was starred. All right, let's take a look at one more. FIVE. Okay, FIV. Look at this consolidation up at the highs. Okay, getting ready for a grinder box breakout. All right, obviously see every time I see wicks, that's telling me sellers. Okay, so obviously there were sellers up here before, but it's been a few weeks, okay, maybe even a month. All right, you can see, and we've chewed away at some of that overhead supply, and now they're sitting up here at the highs ready for a breakout. All right, so FIV looking good for a breakout. No, there's no guarantee you're going to get a breakout, but it is consolidating up here at the highs. Okay, so I like to keep a tab on that for a breakout where you get some green erases red. All right, so anytime I see green pop over this red candle here, all right, that's a green erases red entry right there. Same thing happened on FLR. All right, here's the red candle. All right, here's a red candle, but I want to take out that red candle, and you got a green erases red. Of course, you can see we gapped up there. All right, so you can, as long as you get a nice 10-minute uptrend on that candle. Let's just look at that 10-minute chart. All right, nice, strong, green 10-minute candle right there. Could have bought into that and rode it on up to 550, 53.50 right there. Okay, nice, strong, nice 10-minute uptrend ripping over VWAP. Okay, so we just did FIVE. All right, we just did FLR. I think the next one was CRDO. Okay, now look at CRDO, kind of pulling back the bow, about to let the arrow fly. Nice candle there on the 3rd. Okay, notice you've got green erasing red right here. Imagine if you got another candle like that. That's a nice looking candle. 92.70 up to 93.50. So that's about $1.25. Okay, so maybe another $1.25 move, get another candle like that. So you got green erases red entry right there at the end of the day on the 3rd. Obviously, we closed at the end of the day, near the end of the day. See, they could not break the 17 or the anchored VWAP. Oh, that's not it. Let me go back here. Okay, my bad. I was not on the daily chart. All right, so you can see green is now in the process of erasing red. So I would look for an entry on CRDO right up here over 94.68. See the body of that red candle right there? That would be my entry. Green erases red entry. I'd like to see a nice 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. That would be my entry with green erasing red right up there over 94.70 right there, CRDO. Next one. All right, I think we got one more. ZS. All right, let's take a look at ZS. Don't do this to me. All right, here's ZS. All right, you can see the consolidation here up at the highs. Again, I'd want to see green erases red. So right over the body of this candle right here, that would be an entry. So this is set for an entry right here today. All right, ZS right up there. Up over 615.20 right there. Up over 615.20. Nice 10-minute uptrend. There's your green erases red entry for ZS. Okay, so there's 4 little charts right there. I mainly trade SPY day after day. Always SPY options. All right. I'm not a big fan of chasing everything that's moving, but I do like to watch for these grinder box breakouts. They have been rewarding, all right, for me. So I like to watch those and trade some of them, all right. But for the most part, I'm a SPY options trader, all right. Now you can trade. I trade, all right. I trade MES futures at the same time as I trade my my SPY options. So if I got a 10-minute uptrend in the SPY, well, then I'm going to trade the same 10-minute uptrend, okay, inside of MES. All right. So if you're a futures trader, that's you can follow along if you wish, but that's what I do at the same time. I'm always looking for 10-minute uptrends. All right, because for me, that's my favorite time frame. Now, I'm not always on the 10-minute. I'm sometimes on the 3 or on the 5. All right, because I like to get a little bit earlier entry. So I scoot down sometimes to get in on a 3 or a 5. But anyways, that's what I trade at the same time. I trade futures, all right, on the S&P 500. And if you look at the 10-minute chart of your MES or your ES, all right, it's the same thing, all right. One's a micro and one's the mini, all right. So if you look at that 10-minute chart, you're going to see that the futures candles kind of match up, right, with the SPY, the S&P 500 or the SPY candles on the 10-minute chart. So I'm a 10-minute trader. If you watch and you compare charts, SPY to MES, you're going to see almost exactly the same candle. You'll see the wick in the same spot. The red candles will show up in the same spot. The big green candles will show up in the same spot. It will almost exactly mirror the SPY if you trade the MES. All right, so I'm a big fan of trading futures at the same time. Now I've got about 5 paid accounts on my Apex futures. All right, so I link them all together and I trade all 5 at the same time. All right, you can link them all together if you're on Trade of 8. All right, I link them up and I trade them together at the same time as I trade SPY. All right, so let's drill down here. Let's go take a look at SPY again. All right, nice candle there. All right, let's take a look at the 10-minute. All right, you can see we had a a 10-minute downtrend. Not much of a downtrend, but a 10-minute downtrend, because the 3 EMA crossed underneath the 8 right here. All right, so 3 crossed underneath the 8 right here on SPY, so that makes it a 10-minute downtrend coming into close. So I would be looking for a continuation of that 10-minute downtrend. Not a very strong downtrend, by the way. Okay, it's only one 10-minute candle, so not a lot of strength in that downtrend. Chances are it may not work. All right, right now, what I like, what I've been most successful with, is my 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, that's been my most successful trade. That 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Now get this, that's inside of a 2-hour uptrend, and that 2-hour uptrend's inside of a daily uptrend. And guess what? And that daily uptrend's inside of a weekly uptrend, and that weekly uptrend's inside of a monthly uptrend, and all of that is over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, for me, this is a moment that may never come along for a long time. It may be 2 or 3 years after this rally's done and this high is made. I think within the next 2 or 3 months, I don't think we'll see this kind of environment again for a long time. Not to say there won't be any bullish rallies. Yes, there definitely will be some bullish rallies. But we've got an environment now where you can see SPY is making new all-time high day after day almost. All right, so for that instance, I want to be trading those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP that are inside those 2-hour uptrends. It's inside the daily uptrend, okay? So there's a 10-minute chart, okay? Got a little pullback right here on coming into the close on what was it? Thursday, right? Thursday. All right, you can see we closed at 1 p.m. on Thursday. So a little 10-minute pullback, all right? Let's look at the 2-hour chart. Okay, the 2-hour, you can see the 3 EMA is up over the 8 EMA. For me, that's an uptrend, all right? You can see the space, see the air between the 3 and the 8. That's a nice 2-hour uptrend. Now, look how long this uptrend's been going on. Right here from the 23rd, all right? This uptrend has been performing nicely, okay, all the way up to today. Today's 7/7 or July 7th, so nice 2-hour uptrend right there. All right, that's inside of a daily uptrend. So 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. That's bullish. All right, so we may get a pullback to the white line, which would be the 8 EMA, 622. 621 is the max pain. They may run down and tag 621. We'll see what they want to do this morning, all right? But we're gonna watch this morning to see. We're looking for a continuation of the 10-minute downtrend. So we'll pull up the pre-market here, just kind of see what's going on. All right, so you can see in the lows they came down in here. So I mark off in the morning time. All right, I mark off the overnight lows and the overnight highs. If I break one of those two, overnight lows, overnight highs, all right, I will typically trade the breakout, either to the upside or to the downside. All right, so that's my plan. I will trade the breakout of the overnight lows and the overnight highs. Or sometimes if I see a red erases green, in other words, if they break the bottom of this base right through here in the pre-market, I will be interested in trading that to the downside all the way down to the open gap. That will be my first target, is this open gap down here. All right, if not, if they break out to the upside, chances are they're going to go ahead and do the gap fill. Because remember, they're gapping down, and they're probably going to want to run up here and do a gap fill because we've been bullish. All right, so signs of bulls, all right? Signs of bulls are bullish gap up, that's not filled by the bears. Anytime I see that and it lasts past 12:30, all right, that's telling me that the bulls are in control. All right, if the bears can't fill that bullish gap, that's weakness on their part. So that's a clue for me. All right, price action moves up and holds the higher ground. That's a clue for me. All right, anytime price moves up, holds that higher ground, that's a bullish environment. All right, I want to look for those 10-minute uptrends. All right, when I see that. All right, so right now I'm looking for a breakout. All right, for a gap fill or a break of this base to come down here and probably test the open gap that exists right here. So you can see on Thursday that a bullish open gap never got filled by the bears right here. Okay, so we'll see what happens. All right, so on the other plan I have is I will mark off the first 15 minutes, all right, of trading and trade the breakout of the 15-minute box. All right, so I will mark it off, top and the bottom. Whoever breaks the box, if the candle's strong enough, I will go with them and trade them until they either do a gap fill or hit the next open gap. We'll see what happens. All right, so there's SPY. And there's a good idea of what I'm going to be doing this morning, so you already know. Again, my SPY pivot, you can see the price action trades up on top of it here, trades underneath it here, climbs on top. 623.80 is my pivot. So above it, I want to be a bull. Below it, I want to be a bear. All right? For the game plan, let's visit the game plan this morning, okay? Okay, let's pick it up on the 10. And we want game plan. All right. Pivot. 623.80. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. We have a green erases red entry. Now, hey, by the way, I provide these SPY game plan, QQQ game plan, every single morning. All right? So that at least you have a plan to work with when you're part of the BYOB room. All right? I'm always putting these up, all right? So you can have a plan to trade. So the first green erases red entry, okay, is going to be right up here over 626.10. That's a green erases red entry, okay? Pivot, 623.80. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. 10-minute downtrend, okay? Now, if we have a red erases green entry underneath. So, in other words, all of this green gets erased by the bears. So we have a red erases green underneath 622.40. Okay. Now it's highly likely that they come down here and spike this by 40 cents. All right. And then turn around and reverse. All right. There's a possibility of that. All right. So if you do take the red erases green, because the market has been bullish, all right, there's that possibility that price comes down here and reverses after tagging 40 cents below this and then rips to the upside. And then there's another chance that they come all the way down and hit the full gap fill. We'll see what happens, all right? So there's SPY this morning. So here's our game plan. And if you wonder what kind of options I'm going to be looking at, all right, so this is what I like. I like 4 days till expiration, Friday options on the multiple of 5, okay? So I would like 620, 615, 610, 625, 630. Okay, you get it, multiple of 5. I also like them $5 to $15 out of the money, okay? Because I got a small account, all right? I got a small account, and I can't afford to buy the in-the-money option. Now, let me just say this right up front. For the most part, most of the time, all right, the best performing option is going to be that 0 days till expiration option that's in the money. That's, excuse me, that will usually give you, almost always give you, that penny for penny performance, okay? But bear in mind, there's also a lot of risk that comes along with it. And if you want the penny for penny performance, you're going to pay a little bit more per share for that option, okay? So for that part, I don't like that until I've built my account up, all right? Once I build my account up, I start using some of those zero DTEs in the money, all right? But if for them when I'm first starting out, I don't want that. I want a little less risk, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little performance, all right, to take on a little less risk, all right? So for that part, I like $5 to $15 out of the money. Okay, so what else do I like? I like 10-minute uptrends that are breaking away from VWAP, all right? So when price and the trap, see the 3/8 trap, breaking away from VWAP, okay? That's what I like to trade. A lot of money. I make a lot of money when I trade that 10-minute uptrend where price is breaking away from VWAP. All right, I like 10-minute downtrends breaking away from VWAP. Either way, up or down, I trade them either way. Bear in mind, okay, we are in a bullish market, all right, and we would be trading counter trend, all right, because everything's bullish. You got a 2-hour uptrend, daily uptrend, weekly uptrend, monthly uptrend. You got to recognize you're trading counter trend. So you look for those areas of support where price may bounce, all right? So keep in mind that when you trade counter trend, there's a likelihood for price to reverse on you, all right? But anyways, on those 10-minute uptrends, if a 10-minute uptrend developed down here, all right, before the green erases red entry, and we happen to either break through the pivot or break the rubber band candle on that 10-minute uptrend down here, I am not opposed to trading that 10-minute uptrend to the upside, all right? Same thing as if a 10-minute downtrend manifests up here long before the red erases green entry, okay? If it manifests up here, all right, and it breaks the 10-minute rubber band candle or it gets below the pivot, I am not opposed to trading the 10-minute downtrend that originates or manifests up here long before it gets to the red erases green entry. Okay, just want you to understand that we don't, not all entries are we going to wait all day long for the green erases red entry. All right, if we see a 10-minute uptrend that just happens to manifest from bouncing off of this gap fill, all right, we may trade that. All right, or we see a 10-minute downtrend that manifests off of trading the gap fill up here, back up here, and it rolls over, we may trade that as well. We won't wait for the first red erases green entry. All right, so just want you to understand that, okay? So what do I like? I like 4 days till expiration Friday options, all right? I like Fridays because they got more open interest, all right? I like 11 days till expiration Friday options. I like them on the multiple of 5. I like them $5 to $15 out of the money, all right? So you decide what your comfort level is. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP and breaking away, all right? Where the 3/8 trap, all right? You see the space between the 3 and the 8 is breaking away from VWAP, all right? It's the brown line right there. I like the 10-minute downtrends, all right, that are breaking away from VWAP. In other words, I'd see a 10-minute downtrend that's breaking away from VWAP with the price candles, okay? So I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP, 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. If price crisscrosses over VWAP, which it may do for the first 3 hours this morning, I don't know, all right? And all it does is crisscross over it for 2 or 3 times, all right? For me, that's a red flag. We're in for a chop day, and you might as well just go educate yourself and watch some BYOB videos. All right, just plugging myself there. All right, so for that, it's probably going to be 4 hours before you get a breakout. All right, if you see that, if you see it cross 2 or 3 times before noon, all right, might as well just set aside an hour and go watch some BYOB videos. All right, that's probably the best thing, because that's all it's going to be, is a chop day until they can decide which way they want to go. In other words, they either got to grind away at overhead supply, or they're going to have a nice pullback. All right, so there's SPY. All right, there's the game plan. QQQ has a game plan as well. All right, we'll go through that real quick. It's very similar to SPY. QQQ pivot, 554.30. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green. Underneath, 553. That's the red erases green entry. Green erases red entry. You can see right up here. Okay, price over 557. That's a green erases red entry. I like. Guess what? It's the same options. 4 days and 11 days till expiration. Friday options. It's the same thing on the multiple of 5. All right, because they got more open interest. I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right, again, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of performance to take on a little bit less risk. Again, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP that are breaking away from VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP that are breaking away from VWAP. Okay, I got a few questions right here. Yeah, I'm going to head back to the first one to see if I can find it. And what's the best way for someone to enter today's house as an open visitor? Thank you, Ed. Ed took care of that one. Sandra, are you saying you buy the option on Friday? No, I'm buying Friday's option. All right. In other words, if you look out here, there'll be, this is QQQ. These options expire today. All right. Those are 0 days till expiration. Now, I said 4 days till expiration. So that's going to be Friday's options down here. So these will be the Friday options. All right. And I will like, if they're calls, I want them to be $5 to $15 out of the money. All right. So these are the calls. All right. And price is currently at 554. So I would want either 555 calls. Notice they're priced at $5.50. Okay, that's kind of rich, isn't it? To pay $5.50 for a call right there. Okay, that can't buy too many if you're only going to risk 2% of your account. Okay, there's 555. 560, the 560 calls are 287 right here. Okay, a little bit less. All right, so notice I like to increments of 5, so you'd be either or 565. Notice they're only $1.30. So I would probably choose those $1.30s, all right? Because I like that. That's a whole lot less risk, all right, in case I lose the whole ball of wax, all right, and spending $5.50, I would choose that. Now, I would not get the performance that I would from the 555 calls, but I'm willing to take on less risk and trade those instead. Okay? So how do I set VWAP? Another question. Yeah. So Monday I buy an option for Friday. Yeah. I'm buying Friday's option on Monday. That's what I'm saying. How do I set VWAP? VWAP's on my platform. Okay, Joe? On my platform. And not everybody has TC2000, okay? All right, but I'm just going to go through it real quick. All right, all I do for me on my platform, and it might be different on yours. I don't know what you got. Okay, I right click and I hit add to chart. All right, and then I click indicator. All right, and then I just search for VWAP. And there it is. Okay, and then I click it. All right, and you can see it's right there. All right, it just added it to my chart. And if I want to edit that, let's say I want to crank it up and I want it to be really fat, there it is. See how fat it got right there? All right, so and then I could change it to dashed lines, and I can even change the color. All right, so I can change the color if I want it green right there. Let's say I want it green. Now it's green, but that would be confusing because it's got a lot of green candles and everything else. So that's it right there. Okay, so that's how I do it on my chart. And somebody hit me up with a private message. Yes, I do plan to start a 5K account today. All right, if you didn't scroll up in the things, I have a 5K account ready for today. All right, it's going to be right here. This is 7/7/25 open house 5K account, and I got one for 27K. Okay, so I got one for 27 and one for 5K. All right, so you guys can all follow along with me. All right, that's what I'm hoping for, is that you guys get inspired, take a trial. All right, they're only $7. I think they're only $7. All right, come take a trial, come hang out with me, and we can trade. You can watch me trade this 5K account live and in front of you. Now, if you look, all right, on the screen, I didn't even go through everything today, but let's go ahead and look up here, okay, on the screen up here, okay, take that off, Roger, okay, thanks, Roger. If you look on the screen, okay, on screen 2, you're going to see this is my P&L, and it's always going to be in this section right through here. All right, in this section right through here, P&L. All right, on screen 2, it's going to be right down this. All right, that's where it's going to be. Okay, if you want to see my open positions, okay, they're going to be over here on screen 2, top right corner. Okay, this is going to tell you how much I made on the option or security that I traded over here in this column, in this half of the box, and in screen 2 up here, this is going to be my open positions. This is what I have open currently, all right? This is in the blue box. Okay, that's all I have open right now. Okay, in the blue box, in the top right corner of screen 2. All right, I'm going to erase that. All right, because we're going to go to the next one. Screen 3. Okay, so you can follow along. And I got a little bit of that. And do this. Screen 3. Okay, right here we've got, these are all of my executed orders. Okay, all of this is everything that I got fills for. All right, if I got a fill, in other words, I put in an order to sell calls for 629, all right, or 626, all right, and it got filled, so it will show up here, all right, and then I've got these over here. These are the unfilled orders right there. Okay, these are orders that have not been filled. Okay, they're still waiting to get filled. This is screen 3. Okay, filled orders, in other words, executed trades, unfilled orders. Okay, so you can, that way you can follow along on screen 2 and screen 3 and see what's going on again. And then you'll see the account value. Okay, let's take this off. Account value is usually on screen 2, right up here. Get the red. Well, actually, we'll do it in the pink. Trash that out. Okay, so account values usually like right up there. Okay, right up top there. Okay, that's where the account value would typically be. All right, so now you see that. So now you see how to do the VWAP. That was only for TC2000. If there's anything and you have TC2000 and you want one of my layouts, my workspace, my charts, just ask me. I will gladly share it with you. There's nothing more than I want to see than to see traders succeed. All right, that's most important for me. Okay, is to see all of you succeed in the room. And I know I got a lot of successful traders in the room. You should see these guys. They do 1, 2, 3, sometimes 9, 10, 20% in one day. All right. Can you imagine being a BYOB trader and moving your account up? All right, growing your account by 12% in one day, or 15% in one day, or 20% in one day. Okay, we got traders in here, all right, that are consistently making their accounts grow, not by 20%, but they're consistently growing their account day after day. All right, and they do it because they got a set of rules. All right, it just doesn't happen out of the blue. Okay, they have a plan. They got a business plan, and they know what they need to do. All right, and they do it. That's what they do. They follow their plan. All right, if you want to be successful at day trading, please have a plan. If you're not successful, please do not trade real money. All right? Do not trade real money if you don't have a plan. All right? Okay, you're a beginner, day trader, rule 1, paper trade. Yeah, absolutely. Paper trade until you learn the concepts. All right? But I trade a very simple concept. It's very, very repeatable. All right? It's 10-minute uptrend over VWAP or 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. That's my bread and butter right there. Now I have a few chart setups that I do trade as well. But for the most part, it's that 10-minute trend that I like to trade, as well as the opening 15 minutes, the opening hour. That's really good as well. All right, so let's go back in. Let's take this and move this out of the way. All right, let's move this out of the way. All right, and let's just run through the charts real quick. Okay, you can see QQQ, new all-time high. All right, anybody want to challenge me on that? All right, we all agree it's all new all-time high. SPY, all right, new all-time high. All right, on the day on the 2-day chart, that's an uptrend. Okay, on the weekly chart, obviously. See the green balls right here on the 17th? That's an uptrend. And on the monthly chart, you can see the green balls. All right, still in an uptrend. Okay, so we got a 2-hour uptrend. Okay, see the green balls? 2-hour uptrend. All right, daily uptrend. See the green balls right there? See the 3/8 trap is open. The 3's on top of the 8. Weekly, monthly, you name it. Okay. Let's take a look at FNGU. All right. Daily chart. Okay. New all-time high right there. Okay. See the space? There's the prior all-time high. There's the new all-time high right there. See the space between the top candle? Okay. And that's in an uptrend. All right. FNGU. Daily chart. Bullish. That's in an uptrend. All right. New all-time high. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM, not a new all-time high, but let's look at it. This is a new rally high, okay? Okay, definitely in an uptrend because it's over the bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, that's always bullish. If it's long moving up, it's got to be moving up though. All right, and it's over the all-time high. That's the pink line, anchored VWAP right there. Okay, so that's bullish because it's moving up. All right, over that all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, and we're in the upper third. All right, we'll see if they can hold the ground in the upper third. Okay, so that's bullish. All right, up there in the upper third. All right, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, so that IWM, of course, new rally high. You can see making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend and bullish because it's up in the upper third. Back in Diamond Dow. All right, you can see this is the all-time high right there for Diamond Dow, either this one or this one. But irregardless, here we are. We are poised to attack the all-time high. Okay, notice how close we are. There's the all-time high. There's where price closed on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Okay, you got a higher low and a higher high. That's bullish. Over the bullish trap, that's always bullish. Over the rising 17 moving up, that's bullish. Up over the all-time high, it's a pink line, anchored VWAP. Okay, in the upper third, way over the upper third, it's in the upper quadrant 4 at the top. And again, poised to attack the all-time high up there. That's bullish and in an uptrend because it's making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, this is how it goes. All right, this is how I look at candlesticks as a group. All right, it starts like this. Okay, if I see price move up and hold the higher ground like this, that's bullish. Okay, you see that? If I see price move up and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. And that typically leads to this, which is what happened. Okay, so that's what I look for, price to move up. Now, if price moves up and gives it up, it's not bearish. It's just neutral, okay? Just neutral, all right? Same thing if it goes down and gives it up. That's just neutral, all right? But when I see it move up, hold the higher ground, that's bullish. That's what interests me, all right? Now, if you want your swing trading to have more success, okay, you're going to look for charts that do this, all right, that move up and hold the higher ground while we're in this bullish environment, okay? Don't fight the market. Don't fight the trend, all right? Always stay with the market. Try to always stay with the market. Try to always stay with the trend, okay? Now I got one more thing I want to go over before I take off, okay? Because, I provide this, all right? Okay, I put in these bears, and we're in a bullish market. Does anyone know why I would have some bearish stocks in a bullish market? Anybody? All right. When the market has pullbacks, or when I close out the day, I like to be sometimes delta neutral, going into, let's say, an economic event. All right. So this is a way to be delta neutral, is to have some bearish stocks, all right, that will benefit from a pullback, okay, inside of a bullish market, okay, to have some bearish exposure at the same time as my bullish exposure, and therefore neutralizing, okay, any deep pullback, because these will benefit, typically these will benefit from the pullback because they're bearish, so they'll drop while the bulls drop, okay? And that's why I provide bearish stocks at the same time as bullish stock, even though we're in a bullish market. Hey, all right, don't fight the trend, all right? But there will be times you will want to be delta neutral, like maybe before Mr. Powell talks, maybe before rate cuts are announced, maybe before GDP is announced, okay? There's certain economic events that you'll want to be in front of it, and you might want to be delta neutral, so you'll need to know which ones are bearish at the time, all right? So you can see right there, all right? The bearish, all right? So that's that, all right? Let's go look at technicals real quick. Okay, you can see technicals, we're up here at 100%, way in the overbought zone up here, okay, on T2122. That's probably poised for a pullback or a reversal. As you can see, we're getting a pullback early this morning and started to pull back last night. T2123, okay, again, Bullish gap up. All right, not filled by the bears. Who's in control? The bulls are. All right, so you got green from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. That's on the 15-minute chart. Price is rising up over the 200 SMA. Very bullish there. 3-bar chart. Look at the distance between the 17 EMA and the price action candles. 2 more green price bars. Again, if they take out this high up here, they will have negated the daily downtrend. Right now, T2123 in an uptrend, making higher lows. See, here's a low down here, making higher lows, making highs. Here's a high here, making higher highs. That's an uptrend. So bullish, T2123. FNGU, okay, up over the rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. Again, what do I like? I like price action, okay, to move up and hold the higher ground. That's kind of a sloppy hold, but it's consolidating over prior consolidation is also bullish, okay? So FNGU, bullish, okay, on the 15-minute chart. And if we look at this for Thursday's price action, you can see we were green from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and then in the post-market, they got a little pullback there, right there. Rick says hello. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, always good to hear from Rick. Tell him I said hi. Thank you. Thank you, Mitchell. So there's FNGU. That's bullish, all right? Anytime I see consolidation over prior consolidation, that's bullish, all right? Probably way past, I'm sure Rick is already into his time already. So let's just go ahead and get the economic events. All right. Oh, no, let's do these real quick. I'm going to run through these real quick. XLE. Okay. Neutral. All right. Notice XLE under the all-time high anchored VWAP, but in an uptrend. Failing to hold that higher ground. Notice they get up here and they give it up. Get up here, give it up. Eventually, they'll get to a point where they'll be able to hold the higher ground. All right. Price action, just neutral, but in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, USO, also in an uptrend, again, failing to hold the higher ground. Okay, so they move up, they give it up, that's just neutral. All right, making higher lows, higher highs, still in an uptrend, a little bit healthier than XLE because it's up over the 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line. Okay, so let's take a look at UNG. UNG's in a downtrend, by the way. And notice the bear flag, okay? Move down, all right? Move down, all right? And over to the right, like a hockey stick, okay? That's bearish, okay? Notice they even try to make a higher high and they fail, and they try to make a higher high and they fail. So they're bearish down here, hockey stick, all right? So price action in a downtrend, okay, and under the 18-month high anchored VWAP right there, okay, because it's making, look, there's a high, there's a lower high, there's a low, it's making lower lows, all right, closing underneath the bearish trap is bearish, underneath the 17 is also bearish, okay, moving down underneath the all-time or the 18-month high anchored VWAP, also bearish there. Let's take a look at GLD. GLD, notice GLD moving up and holding the higher ground. It's in a downtrend, all right, because it made a lower low. But look at the structure of what's going on, okay? The candles are still holding the higher ground. That's bullish, okay? That's bullish up there, okay? They're in a downtrend because, look, here's a low. They made a lower low, all right? In order to negate the downtrend, they got to take out that high. All right, but they're in a downtrend. But hey, they're not moving down. That's the good news. All right, they're actually showing you an inverted head and shoulders right there. All right, whereas UNG is actually showing you a head and shoulders. This would be the head, right shoulder, left shoulder. Okay, let's go back to SLV. Okay, back to GLD. Again, GLD, that's bullish up there. Quadrant 4, holding the higher ground. Okay, look at SLV. All right, look at SLV moving up, holding the higher ground. That's bullish. All right, see it move up, hold the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, yesterday's candle or Thursday's candle, higher low, higher high, over the bullish trap. That's always bullish. Over the 17, rising 17, that's bullish. Over this, that's a 12-month high anchored VWAP. Over that 12-month high anchored VWAP up in top of quadrant 4, that's bullish, and in an uptrend and moving up. Okay, there's a higher low, there's a low, there's a higher low. Okay, you can see there's a high, there's a higher high. That's an uptrend. Okay, silver. All right, let's take a look at SMH. Look at SMH, new all-time high on SMH on Thursday. Hey, you gotta love that. XLK, technology, new all-time high on XLK. How about XLF? XLF inks out a new all-time high, okay? Hey, if you didn't know the market's bullish, just take a look around at the sectors. Okay, they're hitting new all-time highs. Okay, we may get a pullback today, all right, kind of expecting it because T2122 was up here in the 100% line, okay? That's kind of in the reversal zone, all right? But it could stay up there for 4 days. I'm just saying that, okay? We may get a slight pullback today, and who knows, we may make another higher high, all right? But let me just say, looking at the price action, everything's looking bullish, all right? And we are set up for a robust rally, okay? So here's IYT up in the upper third. That's bullish, new rally high yesterday, up over the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. So we got transports in an uptrend. We got financials in an uptrend hitting new all-time highs. We got technology and semiconductors making new all-time highs. We are set up for a robust rally. And then on top of all of that, get this, okay, here's the US dollar, all right, making 3-year lows. Okay, now for a consumer, that sucks, all right, because your dollar doesn't go as far. But for the investor, when the dollar is weak, that opens up new markets. Okay, that opens up new markets around the globe because you're going to have places that found that our currency was so rich before that they couldn't afford to buy our goods and services, okay? But now with a cheaper dollar, it makes us more competitive and we're able to sell our goods and services to those foreign countries that couldn't afford it before, all right? So that's, we love, as an investor, you love a cheap dollar, okay? All right? But as a consumer, it sucks, okay? Because your dollar doesn't go as far. All right, so that's where we're at right now. We are set up for a robust rally. Again, max pain for today, 621. Put to call ratio, 1.79. So you can see about 1 3/4 puts for each call that expires today. Okay, on the earnings report, nothing happening today. You got Barnes & Noble, all right. Again, a notable, a familiar name, but not going to move the markets. Tomorrow, all right. Again, some more familiar names, not really going to move the markets. $2 billion, again, more familiar names. Nothing that's going to move the markets. Familiar names here, all right, but you can see $32 billion, Delta Air, really not going to move the markets. It may help out the transportation sector. ConAgra may help out the staples, all right, but for the most part, they're not going to really move the markets. Not like a Microsoft or a NVIDIA or Google. Friday, again, more familiar names, nothing that's going to move the markets, okay? On the economic cycle, today we've got no news. Tomorrow, NFIB Small Business Optimism Index, and then the consumer credit at 3. FOMC minutes, probably the highlight of the week, all right, at 2 p.m., all right? And really not that big because I don't expect anything to change until we get some trade deals done. All right? So I don't think the FOMC minutes are really going to matter. They may give you an EKG with the price action, but all in all, I think they'll continue with what they're going. Let me just say, we're set up this week to have a really good week. A really good week. We got the big, beautiful bill just passed. All right. We got some peace in some of these warring countries. All right. It's always nice when people stop killing each other because you can open up the markets, you can open up commerce, you can restock the grocery stores and the Walmarts, and people can start paying for goods and services again. Okay. That's always good. Hopefully, we bring more peace around the globe. But anyways, all right, things are looking good. Jobless claims 8:30 on Thursday. Again, really light week. Whatever direction they're going in, I don't see anything to stop them other than overhead resistance. And let me just say, we just chewed through the whole supply zone. Okay? We just chewed through the whole supply zone, and we're now on top of it. I would like to see us consolidate on top of it while we're waiting for those trade deals to finalize. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to take a break. It's 9:08. I don't even think my video is going to be ready by 9:30. All right, but I will be back before 9:30 to open up the markets with you. I want to thank everybody that's in here and listening to me right now. Okay, I'm going to take a little break. All right, and I'm going to be back, and we'll open up the markets at 9:30, okay? Probably 9:25, 9:20, I'll be back. All right, take a little break here, okay? Thank you, everybody. Love it. Thank you. I'm honored. All you guys in here. Wow, 103 people. It's awesome. I love it. 104. Oh my, it keeps growing. It's growing. All right, I love it. Okay, I'll see you guys in like 20 minutes.